Welcome to How I Unfucked My Life. I'm your host, Christine DeGrazia, registered nurse and founder of Calm by Intention. On this show, we bridge the gap between mindset and physiology. We're combining the raw grit it takes to change your life with the clinical science it takes to regulate your nervous system, because it takes more than just mindset to calm a body in survival mode. Let's get into today's episode. Thank you so much for joining me today. I truly appreciate you being here. And for those of you who may not know, I'm a registered nurse. And as a registered nurse, I've seen patients who would rather live with a chronic nagging pain for years than endure the surgery that it would take to fix it and live without pain. And we do that exact same thing with our lives. We are so terrified of the short, sharp pain of change, let's call it the ripping off of the Band-Aid, that we choose to endure a long, slow, miserable death instead. We stay in a job that devalues us, or we just hate doing. We stay in a relationship that's been dead for decades. We choose to suffer forever in the name of stability rather than enduring one moment or a few moments of total discomfort that would actually set us free. So today we're talking about why you're choosing the poison and how to finally just rip off the Band-Aid. Let's call it what it is. Staying where you don't belong is a slow death. It's the death of your creativity, the death of your peace, the death of who you really are, and eventually the death of your physical health. It's a slow leak of your life force. You think you're choosing or you're being safe by staying. But as a nurse, I can tell you, staying in a toxic environment isn't safe. It's like an infection. It's an infection that's eating away at your soul. And infections don't get better by ignoring them. They just eat away more and more and more of you until they eventually kill you. Compare that to the short, sharp pain. Yes, ripping the Band-Aid off hurts. The resignation, the move, the I'm done conversation, it's intense. It's a spike of adrenaline and fear. But that pain is productive. It's the pain of a clean cut that allows for healing. You're choosing between a pain that kills you and a pain that saves you. Which one are you currently signed up for? And when you finally rip the Band-Aid off, something happens that you didn't expect. The air hits the wound. It's scary, it's cold, and for a second it stings like hell. That's the who am I now phase. That's the void. But in that void is where the healing actually begins. When you stop the slow death of forcing a life that isn't yours, you finally give your nervous system permission to stop vibrating stress. You find alignment. You find a level of peace that you didn't even know existed because you were too busy trying to keep your misery stable. Now, I've had to rip the Band-Aid off before, and I've had to face the sharp pain of walking away from what I thought my life was supposed to look like. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, and it was the best thing I've ever done, because on the other side of that spike of pain was a life I actually love. I found out who I truly am and what I truly want to do. I made myself miserable staying in a relationship I knew was not for me, all because I was afraid of being alone. See, every time you choose that short pain, every time you have the guts to rip the Band-Aid off and say, I will not live like this for one more day, you earn a notch in your belt of life. And that notch represents something money or status can never buy: self-trust. When you survive that short, sharp spike of change, you prove to yourself that you are unstoppable. You realize that the disaster you were so afraid of was just a doorway. You develop a psychological and spiritual muscle that only grows when you stop hiding. Most people never find that strength because they're too busy managing their decay. But when you choose the pain of growth, you aren't just getting by anymore. You're becoming a person who knows how to handle their own life with grace and authority. You aren't just surviving the transition, you're being forged by it. And here's the part that keeps me up at night. We act like we have forever. We endure months, years, even decades of misery as if we're going to get a refund on that time. But as a nurse, I am here to tell you, the clock doesn't care about your woulda, shoulda, couldas. I'm pretty sure that you've all seen that reel about if you're lucky, you get 75 summers, 75 falls, 75 winters, and 75 chances to see the world turn green again. And while you're sitting there performing CPR in a dead relationship or a soul-crushing job, those seasons are melting away. They are evaporating while you wait for a better time to be happy. Well, there is no better time. There is only right now. And to spend even one of your limited days in a state of mundane misery isn't just a shame, it's a tragedy. You are trading the most valuable commodity you truly own, which is your time, for a life that doesn't even want you. So stop treating your life like a dress rehearsal. The curtain is up, the clock is ticking. Don't let your 75 summers turn into 75 regrets because you were too afraid of a moment of discomfort or pain. Now, I'm not just going to leave you standing there with the Band-Aid in your hand because I know what some of you are thinking. Christine, it's easy to say rip it off, but I don't have anybody to catch me. And believe me, I know that feeling. When I ripped the Band-Aid off my own life, I didn't have a cheerleading squad. I had a lot of silence and a lot of fear. So here is your clinical plan. 1, the 48-hour silence. Before you make the move, before you stop the noise, stop polling people who aren't living a life you want anyway. Just sit in the quiet and ask your body, is this mine? Is this what I want? Is this the life I want to have? And if that answer is a heavy no, that's your truth. Trust your gut over your fear. 2, script the sharp pain. We stay because we're afraid of the mess. So take the monster out of the dark. Write down the conversation you need to have. Write the resignation. Decide on a date. And when you turn the sharp pain into a scheduled task, you take back the power. And 3, be your own aftercare. If you don't have a cheerleading team, it's okay. You have to be your own sanctuary. This is where your faith comes in. You have to trust that God in the universe doesn't lead you to a cliff just to watch you fall. You have to commit to being kind to yourself while it stings, whether it's a walk, a prayer, or just 100th time that you tell yourself, I'm going to be okay. You are the one you've been waiting for. You are strong enough to handle the sting. So stop choosing to suffer forever. Stop resuscitating a ghost. Bite the bullet, rip off the Band-Aid, and have the faith that God and the universe are ready to catch you on the other side of that hurdle. You aren't meant to just exist in a slow death. You're meant to live in alignment. I'm Christine DeGrazia. This is how I unfucked my life. Please like, share, and subscribe. Help get this out to someone who really needs to hear it. Now, take a deep breath, rip the Band-Aid off, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for listening to How I Unfucked My Life. I know the work is heavy, but remember, you aren't just fighting your brain, you're learning to lead your body. You have the grit to change your mindset, and you have the biology to find your peace. And every choice you make is a step towards the life that you deserve. So stop arguing with where you've been and start deciding where you're going. See you next time.